Trump gave a speech at a Pennsylvania rally tonight, promising relief as Americans call out soaring prices, pushing his economic agenda while voters wrestle with the Democratic hoax of affordability. He went off the rails talking about political enemies, Somalians, transgender folks, the Middle East, and windmills.
Two things, at least, you should draw out of this. One, Trump thinks he can talk his way out of anything. If he says affordability isn't real, like climate change isn't real, they're both Democratic hoaxes, somehow the American people will come to believe it. And that's not true anymore. If you look at almost any poll, overwhelmingly, Americans are deeply worried about the economy and deeply worried about affordability, because affordability is something they see every single day. Right, Sam?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't really lie to people when they're just going to the grocery store and they see the prices of their grocery
Or they're
bills.
getting their utility bills or their health insurance bills.
And I think that was a major mistake by the Biden administration, too. They tried to kind of explain their way out of it. And it's like, look, people are going to the grocery store. They see the price of beef. They see the price of eggs.
I never understood why politicians tried to do such thing. But that's not the only thing you can draw out of this. Second thing is Trump has no discipline.
Of course not. We've known that for a long time.
Right, but this was particularly egregious.
I don't know. He's been doing these off-the-rail rant speeches.
Yeah, but this was supposed to be the signature speech of his second term, addressing the number one issue affecting the American people. And he couldn't even stick to it, even for a few minutes.
I don't know. I'm not surprised.
He had to go off the rails on his favorite topics, the so-called garbage Somalis.
He always does that. He always goes off the rails.
But this was supposed to be different.
No, I
this
bet.
was billed. He was really going to focus on the economy.
No,
and he had to.
I've heard this 1,000 times. Oh, Trump was supposed to give this very serious speech and then he went off the rails. Yeah, no, dude. He does that every time.
I'm not surprised, but it's not something we should just gloss over.
Okay.
It's really critical to point this out.
Okay.
He can't, and he's supposed to be a populist, right?
Well, we all know that's a joke,
it's supposed
right?
to be in the interests of ordinary Americans, and it's just the opposite. Do you have something on what's going on with the Supreme Court with the lifting of the cap on funding?
Yes, we'll talk about that later in depth. But
Yeah, because that's another example of how Trump not only isn't a populist, but is an anti-populist.
Right.
Is against everything that the populists are for and is for everything that the populists were against.
Absolutely. Dad, we've got some breaking news here on Lichtman Live this evening.
Wow.
Democrat Elaine Higgins, or Elaine, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, or Eileen, I think. Let me start that again. Breaking news here on Lichtman Live tonight. Democrat Eileen Higgins will win the Miami mayoral race, ending nearly 30 years of GOP control and signaling a possible urban backlash ahead of 2026.
Yeah, this is big news. I mean, I understand that everyone might be concerned with Miami, but it's another one of those bellwether elections, like the two public service elections, which were statewide elections in Georgia, which Democrats haven't won in decades, and they won both of them handily. Not only did it's a nonpartisan officially, but everyone knows who the Republican and who the Democrats are. They openly campaign that way. Not only did she win, do you know what margin she won by, Sam?
You just told me a few minutes ago.
59-41 with virtually all the returns in. That's an 18-point drubbing, 18-point landslide victory in, as you said, a jurisdiction that Democrats haven't won in decades. And this is in keeping with everything we've seen happening in off-year special elections or off-year regular elections like governor in New Jersey and Virginia. Democrats have been outperforming previous results and expectations by double digits, 10, 13, 15, 18 points above and beyond. Now, you can't draw a direct parallel between off-year elections, whether special or regular, and the 2026 midterm. But this has got to absolutely frighten Republicans. Combine that with the fact getting too excited about this.
Seriously.
That Donald Trump cannot credibly address the main concerns of Americans, and that we have the worst do-nothing Congress probably in the history of the country, at least arguably, if not the worst, one of the worst absolute do-nothing Congresses. Even though Republicans control both the House and the Senate, they passed only one in almost a year, major piece of legislation, the bitterly unpopular so-called big beautiful bill. I call it the big ugly bill, that tilts heavily in favor of the very rich at the expense of those who depend upon things like Medicaid, food stamp budgets, and other forms of assistance. Even Republicans have been in revolt. Even Republicans have been complaining about the leadership of the absolutely feckless, clueless, Trump-toady Speaker Mike Johnson, one of the most unpopular speakers, even within his own party, that we've ever seen. Quite a few Republicans have said, if we had the vote today, guess what? We would not vote for Mike Johnson because he has been such a disaster. So where is the comeback going to come? How is Republicans going to make a comeback in 2026? They're depending on one thing, Sam: cheating. This mid-term, mid-census, mid-decade redistricting started by Donald Trump to try to rig the districts to favor Republicans. Worse yet, to rig the districts to rob the voters of the choice, to have the line drawers decide the election rather than the voters. That's the one thing that they're counting on, that they'll rig enough districts to make it hard for the Democrats to take over the House. And I don't think that's going to work. Thanks for watching our video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and become a member today.